So today, Xander Simms joins the show. And Dragon, I got to say, we're talking all about metaverses today. Which metaverse do you think is going to win?
God, it's the Wild West out there, man. And you know, this guest that we have here is going to just completely crack your mind open and show you like how big this whole NFT thing is. So let's get into it, but make it simple.
Let's do it. NFTs are changing the world, and change can feel complicated and scary. But listen, you don't need a computer science degree. You don't need to learn how to code. You just need practical skills to win.
If you are here, you are in the 1% of humans that are preparing for this major cultural shift. We're going to keep it fun. We're going to keep it light. We're going to make it practical. Welcome to NFTs Made Simple.
Just a reminder, we're not financial advisors. This is not financial advice, and you should do your own research.
Hey, let's get into it.
Yo, Xander, welcome to NFTs Made Simple.
What's up, Mark? Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here. When Dragon was like, hey, I got this guy. He sounds super interesting. He's creating some really cool stuff in the metaverse. I was like, yep, book it.
Yeah. I mean, and let me just quickly share, welcome Xander to NFTs Made Simple. One of the things that I do is I'm out there consuming and, learning, and a lot of that stuff translates onto the show. But what an interesting cast of characters out there, in the space, like every day. What's cool about, Web3, NFTs and all this stuff is that you run into somebody that's doing something that you never even thought about. So first of all, if you run into, Xander on any of the socials, first you will, just be stopped by this just unbelievable, unusually attractive fashion and artwork and things like that. So that's what found me. And then you kind of look at his, just to give you an idea for those of you just listening, you look at his profile picture and he's kind of like an avatar. We're getting to talk to the real guy right now. But when you identify the space that he's in, he's involved with, this company called Digital Storytellers. He calls himself a creative technologist, a Web3 artist, something that NFTs Made Simple has been really, really looking to dig into, speaking to people on the creative side. And also I find it just totally fascinating that he's involved in fashion, right? I mean, do we need fashion in the metaverse? Of course we do. Kids are using skins and things like that. He's involved in AI, 3D, augmented reality designing, which, made me fall in love. And he also has this project that's coming up that we know about that's really exciting. So psyched to meet you, man. And Mark, that's why I told you. I said, we got to get this guy on the show.
And Xander, I want to ask you a question. What does that mean?
Yeah.
What is a Web3 artist?
What is a Web3 artist? I don't know. I just kind of made it up, I wanted to I wanted to have, artist, technologist, and designer in my headline. And whatever words you want to throw in front of it, because I was kind of conflicted. First, it was like an NFT artist, and then I wanted to be something a little bit more comprehensive. So it's like the term Web3 kind of applies to this whole kind of phase right now, and I think just an artist is a good general term to put in there.
This is interesting, Mark. Just quickly to highlight something, because we're always talking about how we're at the forefront, we're pioneers, and all that stuff. Here we are meeting a guy that, is very, very much entrenched in working in it and telling us that he's making stuff up as he goes, So that's proof positive that we are we're pioneers, because it's like you can actually create your own role right now in it,
Yeah, good call.
So what does that look like for you, Xander? Like, what are you working on? What are you innovating on in this Web3 world? Tell us about the project that's really getting you up in the morning right now.
Definitely. There's a couple. There's three, I would say. One is, and in all fairness, it's the Midjourney experiments. Midjourney, of course, is an AI image generation tool. It's lighting up the internet right now. It's so important. I think, one of my colleagues I talked to was like, maybe AI integration is equivalent to humanity's discovering fire, And so I think this is kind of like the first time I've seen a wave of it actually be introduced or involved with our daily lives, with all the different kind of artists, architects, and people across the scope are creating these inventions and sharing them, and then finding ways to include those inventions into their workflows. And just people's response to that has been absolutely incredible to watch. And as a creative, I think it's like there's a defining moment of before Midjourney and the other AI generation tools, and afterwards, so much so in the creative process. So that's super exciting. I kind of have to slow myself down and incorporate it into my normal workflow, so I don't just spend all my time with Midjourney because it's so like landmark. But then the two other projects.
Let's stay on Midjourney for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say, make sure he doesn't stop talking about that.
I experienced, so I'm part of Chris Doe's Future Pro group, and we did a session where for about an hour and a half, we were all playing in Midjourney. It is, wow. Mind-blowing. Dragon, are you familiar with what Midjourney is?
I mean, not on the level that you are. I'm familiar looking from the outside.
It is crazy. So I just want to make sure that we bring all of our listeners up to date. Midjourney is basically a Discord channel, and if you want to get in, shoot us an email, nftmadesimple@gmail.com. I can get you into the beta. But Midjourney is basically AI generated art. So you type in different terms, like it could be Mark, Dragon, and Xander, handsome, sex appeal, doing great things, NFTs, and then Midjourney will actually create the pieces of art for you. It is unbelievable. So I have a question for you, Xander. Is AI generated art the end of human creativity?
I think it's the beginning. I mean, it's really, I think it's monumental. It's like thoughts made visual, a tool to do that. And I think it's just like one of the highest forms of communication, like being able to just visualize, because it starts in a 3-dimensional kind of sphere, and then we usually download it into some kind of software or whatever, and then input the thing, finally. But this kind of like just expedites that to where everyone, even the non-creatives, can create just beautiful works of 3D art, that at the speed of thought. That's always been my biggest stride toward, when we were talking about describing myself, that's been the thing I've been chasing, just expression and creativity at the speed of thought. And this tool is maybe one of the first ones to be able to do that. Absolutely incredible.
This right here is mind-blowing, and anybody that's hearing about this for the first time, I mean, I've read articles on it and stuff, but just think about what just happened right here. So, Mark asked a great question. Is this the end of creativity? And Xander's reply was, it's the beginning, because it actually has just accelerated and opened up the whole platform for creativity, because you no longer need to be a painter or an artist, a sketch artist. All you need to do is have creativity. So as an author, I have an idea and I put it on podcast, video, but I write about it. So look, I'm using certain tools to do that. But what he's talking about is getting in a space where all you have to do is learn how to take your thoughts and regurgitate them, in real time. And the creation of your thoughts, the visual, is taken care of by another. It's like the paintbrush of Web3. Oh my God!
Ooh,
I don't know if this is a good.
Ooh,
I don't know.
That was
You
money.
Go hashtag that. Hashtag Web3 paintbrush.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to have to spend some time on this.
Hey, what's up? Mark here. Just want to take you on a quick break with a resource I think is really going to help you. Some of the concepts that we're covering in the show sound really complicated and really technical. But listen, you don't need to code. You don't need to get a master's degree in computer science. All you need to do is have the right resources. We're going to make it simple. We're going to make it easy. I've got a link below. Go to www.nftsmadesimple.com. That's nftsmadesimple.com. You're going to get a free cheat sheet there. It's 100% free. What are you waiting for? Go get the cheat sheet. We're going to break down some of the key definitions in ways that are really practical and really simple. Go to nftsmadesimple.com right now to get your free cheat sheet. That's nftsmadesimple.com. All right, let's get back into the show.
So cool. So you were gonna tell us some other stuff that you're working on.
Yeah. And then the second project is something a bit newer for me. It's called Let Go. It's a it's a metaverse mosaic. It's a experience built on the Cavrnus platform I've made in creation with them, and I can honestly say, yeah, like you said, it's like version 2.0 is something super exciting, a collaborative effort. I'm collaborating with artists across the world, and what we're doing is exploring digital fashion as a expression of consciousness, more than beyond just taste or style. I think for now that was where we're at because we were kind of limited with the resources. But as we become more immersed in digital worlds and the limits of physics and things like that no longer apply, I think we'll see more more intricate expressions of our true selves. Is my hope. As an artist, that's kind of what I've been able to discover, and then combine that with sharing it with other people. The co-creation, collaboration, and it just spawns all these like beautiful new experiences, and moments, and just things that you can share with other people, and just see more of our authentic selves. More of our maybe soul, maybe more of our cosmic expression. Like the universe, our expression of consciousness through our experience.
Now I understand why. I caught you, fanning on Rizwan Virk.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
now,
yeah, yeah,
now I
yeah.
understand. I mean, the simulation hypothesis. Big shout out to Riz. But what you're speaking my language right now, and this can go way down a rabbit hole right now. But what he's talking about, and if you go to his socials and see it, just to what he said, when you see these fashion graphics, he's also talking about how they represent cultures of potentially, species that have higher levels of consciousness and stuff. So it's so fascinating to take fashion and show what, like this idea that somebody else, another species is running us, this idea that we're a simulation or a video game. You always wonder, what would those people look like? Now through fashion, you can kind of show what those people look like. So it's just imagination running wild, man. So if you haven't looked at the stuff that he's posting and the work that he's doing and all these people interacting with it, it's a thing. It's a serious thing, and it's fascinating because you're not just looking at something and saying it's cool. It's got context that expresses thought and creativity and also consciousness, which is very hot right now. Super cool.
Definitely,
I
yeah.
want,
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
well, there's something you said that I don't want to gloss over. I think this is important because one of the things I love about this Web3 world is it's all these different platforms and the creatives going onto platforms and building onto them. For example, NFTs being built on the Ethereum blockchain or the Solana blockchain. But you mentioned it's being built on the Cavrnus platform. I haven't heard of that term before. Could you just break down what Cavrnus is?
Yeah, I'll do my best here. They are a metaverse company that has created. They create experiences, but also tools for creators in 3D to be able to create worlds and those sort of things at scale. So I think the first thing that I would say from and sorry, the project Let Go is built to basically demonstrate what the tools can do for other creators. So my hope always is to, as a pioneer and an innovator, like show people what's possible with the technology, while learning it for myself. Learning from myself and sharing it with others. In a contribution kind of way. And they have built. I'm really impressed with the platform because they've basically created like a tool of creation and beauty. You can both be the artist and the viewer, experiencing both in real time. So it's really exciting what they're able to do. They just released a new version of their software. They gave me early access to build, and the experience that we built, and just how they've been able to push me and actually push me technologically, and supported me with their team and their technology to be able to express myself and like do things I didn't think I was going to be able to do for maybe like 3 to 5 years. but I'm super excited for that to release, and I think it's gonna shake up the industry a bit.
Last or a couple of weeks ago, we actually recorded an entire episode on the Spatial platform. Not sure if
Oh
you're
yeah,
familiar with
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Love
Super,
spatial.
super dope, super dope. And
Hmm.
I'm on the Cavrnus website right now, and it reminds me of that, where you're building these own worlds. And I'm seeing videos of people walking around with their, virtual reality goggles on, which
Hmm.
you got me there. I'm excited. What's kind of the application that you're working on for this platform? You mentioned um, bridging fashion with consciousness and expression of consciousness. Could you give me a little bit more of like a practical, what does it mean for me if I said, hey, Xander, I want to check out what you're doing? What would that look like for me?
Excuse me. Um, so can you rephrase that or ask that again?
Well, you mentioned, so this idea of fashion is an expression of
Hmm.
consciousness. Like
Hmm.
that's a big pill to swallow, right?
Oh, right. Okay.
Are you actually building like a metaverse that I could click a link, join with my goggles on and experience? What?
Yes, yes, yes. They have it in VR, VR desktop and mobile. So you'll be able to experience in all those forms. But I think so. So like you said, that is a pretty wide scope. But for this one, what we're doing is focusing on how. It's me, myself, and then three other artists from around the world. I'm partnering with Haiti Art from Nigeria. She's a fashion designer, partnering with Siddharth from India, New Delhi, and then he's a motion designer and like other talented fashion artists, and then Magic EDXG, which is a collective that blends AI with human creations, and the members are Eve, Diego, and Gabrielle, and they're from Switzerland, Tijuana, and Amsterdam. So we're really like, I wanted, and I'm collaborating with each of them to create let's say, I don't want to give away too much of the experience, but let's create a scene or a world with them where we collaborate, and then we put those collaborations together. Through digital fashion and the immersive 3D experience to create a mosaic of how modern creatives are expressing themselves through the metaverse, Web3, and technology.
So I'm very driven by income, finance, the economics of this new world.
Mm-hmm.
Is like the game plan to build out these platform, like is there a business application behind this? Like, hey, Mr. Customer, you can buy these super dope kicks so that you look great at your next VR meeting or at the VR club. Like, what is there an economic play with Let Go?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, uh, so I was commissioned by Cavrnus to do it as an artist and a builder. So there's I was hired in this kind of work I'm wanting to move more into. But also there's going to be links to our NFT projects. Like if you're going through the experience, you're like, oh my god, like dude, I love this shirt that's showing here. We'll have a link to where you can go and purchase it. Now you have the Let Go Xander Love jacket, for instance. I'm going to have those available, so you can rock that wherever you're at. And maybe there'll be some free drops and stuff. NFT drops I can get to. You're like economics. I'm like, give it away for free, but but some free drops for people to kind of get into digital fashion, because that was some of my favorite moments when I was just exploring the space. And you go and you get POAP, which is a proof of attendance protocol. It's like free merch. You go to a concert, you get a free T-shirt or something like that. Same thing in the digital world. And then hopefully the viewers will be moved and intrigued or curious about the artists and follow the links, the links to their profiles to check out all their other work. And I know all of us are pretty active in the space, so we hey, there's the dragon. We'll have NFTs for sale. All of us are actively selling NFTs, and as well as building experiences for brands. You know.
Dig it, dig it. And I mean, airdrops are just a way of providing more value for the NFTs that you're giving out. The more airdrop, because an NFT I don't think can be as simple as, hey, here's a here's a quick little image for your PFP. There has to be something behind it, which is where you start getting to either physical assets or digital assets, like, being able to flex in the virtual reality world. Is this, is it built on an Ethereum blockchain, or, am I kind of off base with how the NFTs are set up?
Yeah. So the NFTs, I think, it depends. Like, I have some on the Polygon network on like OpenSea, and I also have some other more independent platforms that I use. I think
if let me rephrase my question a little bit. So Cavrnus is kind of like the platform, but the NFTs that people can purchase to use in there can be put on different blockchains.
Exactly. Yeah. They're it's kind of a different approach. Some of the like platforms like spatials, and like we mentioned, spatials integration with NFTs is pretty cool. One of my favorite things about their platform. Cavrnus is kind of taking a bit of a different approach for now. I mean, they might have like direct NFTs or be on the the blockchain later down the road, but for now, that's kind of not their focus. They want to focus more on the experience and off of the blockchain. But there's going to be really easy links and hyperlinks and portals to wherever I need to send the user to purchase. If it's OpenSea on the Ethereum network, or Solana, or maybe Flow, whatever various blockchain.
What's interesting, and I'm sorry about my little tech problem there. What's interesting is Xander's the kind of guy, because of what he does, that keeps on saying things that makes me think of something else that could happen. But you keep on referring to this idea of like, what's unique about what you're doing is you're working on creating experiences, right? And Mark was just talking about like in spatial and the integration of NFTs and stuff. But we're still at this forefront where we're not really sure exactly what an NFT can be. You're starting to learn that first it was a picture of a punk, right? And then it went into like video clips and stuff. But I'm wondering now, is the future of NFTs also going to include experiences? I mean, think about it. If you go into the metaverse, let's say you go into the metaverse, whether it's Cavrnus or spatial or any one of those things, and you go in there, and Mark and I got real comfortable in there, and we had this experience. By, just technically, we have to pay to get in there. There's going to be some sort of an entrance fee and stuff like that. And it's probably going to be crypto. So the question is, are they going to mint that experience and make it unique in some way? Why not? So that's another thing that's so cool, and why it's so cool to meet people like you, is because we just keep on expanding our minds of the potential, which is why Mark and I are all in with this, because we haven't even begun.
Totally. Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, I would definitely
I promise, Xander, I'm not high. I'm not high right now. I promise. This is just where I am.
Right. Higher consciousness, high on consciousness, right? Maybe.
There you go.
A little coffee, maybe. But no, that's great, brother. That's an incredible vision. And sorry I didn't get to say earlier, but total shout out to Rizverk. He's one of my favorite. Like as a creative and an artist, he's one of those people who like totally stretches my vision of everything, makes me question, and it's just like a good creative thought process. So I discovered him, and his speakings and books have been a huge source of inspiration for even the Let Go project and everything else. And I could totally see that, like an experience an NFT you can buy that's like just this incredible experience, and then humans are looking for the best rare experiences to keep with that sense of awe and wonder, because the world's so incredible. There's got to be those rare ones. So that's a cool vision.
Well, I mean, how about the idea? And we're seeing this manifest, and there's some very, very scary things that are on the forefront about experiences. But there's a lot of talk, as I'm sure you guys have heard, about this idea of encapsulating an experience from the past with a dead one. Like with a loved one that's passed on, and not only going into a metaverse like place and experiencing what it would be like to have them, but feeling like they're still alive. Very controversial, but that's going to be for sale, right? So, I mean, imagine like some sort of momentous thing that happened in your life that, you know, you can own as an NFT. So anyway.
It's like that movie where Joaquin Phoenix falls in love with his Amazon Alexa. You know?
Yeah.
She or her.
Samantha, her. Yeah. Spike Jonze.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite films. Yeah.
Very, very, very smart that they used Scarlett Johansson's voice for that because everybody digs her. Yeah, that was smart.
Totally.
So Xander, we're running short on time, but I do want to hear about the third project that you mentioned that you're working on. Break it down for us.
Yeah, so the third project is Ozone Metaverse. They're a metaverse engine I've been working with the longest. When I just dipped my toe into the space, I started working with them. The CEO, JS over there, they've been innovating in Mr. O. They have a really cool metaverse project that also can empower as an engine, other platforms. So like when people build these awesome experiences in Unreal Engine 5 or Unity, a lot of times they have a hard time actually getting those products online, because it's like a experience you download and you can have the video files, but to have people actually interact with these worlds is a difficulty a lot of startups and metaverse builders and architects struggle with. So Ozone kind of facilitates being a platform where you can bring your builds there and they can help bring it online, so you can experience it in VR, mobile, and desktop. So it's a really cool service and a really cool model in their approach.
Honestly, it looks like we're shaping up for a huge tech battle between all these metaverses. You think about where Web 2 is, it's social media. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all these companies are battling it out for attention and eyeballs. That to me seems like what the metaverse is. They want to it's going to be a huge battle to get creators into their ecosystem, building out worlds, building out these experiences. And then we're going to see who wins. It's going to be an interesting next 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also pretty evident that, because, Mark, we went through that phase where we were wondering like what this meant for artists, right, and designers and stuff. On the basic front, they were creating these graphics, and if that artist carried a big name, you could purchase it and own it and accrue value. But what we're talking about now is all of these other things that are emerging, experiential stuff. So you're going to start seeing the artist, the designer, the people, like Xander that are creating stuff are going to be in the mix of all these things, potentially working for competitors and stuff, and then maybe getting contracts. I'm getting you pumped up right now, dude. Getting contracts to sign with somebody so that it's an exclusive thing. It's like, where does this end? Nowhere. Unbelievable. Very cool to meet you, bro. You too.
And yeah, and I think maybe, I think it's like interesting because my approach is maybe a little bit different but I think that you're going to have that. You're going to have a bunch of different platforms, and they all have different specialties, good things they're good for or used for, like some could be really good for digital fashion, some, but they're more meeting based. Some have like the gamification, where you can actually play more, game mechanics inside the games. And to me, I think that when I think of the metaverses, I'm really thinking of the end user, and I don't think the user's going to care. Like, I don't think the user's going to care about the platform's name. Like you mentioned, the experiences, as long as it can be a dope experience and they can serve some, scratch some itch for the user. I think that we're going to jump around a lot and just be very interoperable, and glide around them all. So I think maybe in the short term, there'll be that push for like, who's the metaverse king and who's driving the most traffic. But ultimately, I think there'll be so many worlds and so many experiences that it's just like, you know what I mean? Hard to tell. At least that's my hope. But for now, let the metaverses duke it out.
I predict that all of those things that you're claiming are going to require different companies and different metaverses are soon going to come in the form of words with the letter I before them. I media, I metaverse, I music, and then also the word meta, right? I mean, don't forget about these guys that like to lock things up and have this all-encompassing thing. So that's fascinating too. But either way, Mark, as you always say, and let's close it out, it's like the Wild West out there, isn't it?
Yeah, I always appreciate bringing on brilliant young minds like yours, Xander, to kind of open us up. Every conversation, my brain and my mind is opened up just a little more. So thanks for joining us here, Xander. Where's the best place we can find you?
LinkedIn, definitely. Xander Simms on LinkedIn. I post daily. I'm most active there, and then you can find all my links there as well.
Yeah, link below, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us, Xander, and click the link below. Check it out.